all that. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 3:02 for the open session. Are we going to have an executive session? I don't think so.
No,
Yeah. So I'm going to ask that somebody make a motion to adopt the agenda as it was submitted.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Second.
By Georgia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor too. Okay, so public comment. I see Josh, but Josh is part of the next part of the agenda, so I see the no public comment. Someone to make public comment. While we're at it, we might as well approve the open session minutes for April 30th, 2021. Motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
I'll second. Yeah.
Second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to new business. So we have the review of the variance request for a new affordable housing development at 31 Fairgrounds Road. Oh, wait a minute. I haven't read the script yet. So I will do that next. So this is Mickey Rowland, Chair of the Nantucket Commission on Disability. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your members, when I call your name, just respond in the affirmative. Augie?
Yes, here.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Georgia?
Yes.
Thank you. And Brenda is the staff member, Brenda McDonough.
Yes.
We can hear you. Okay. No anticipated speakers. This open meeting of the Commission on Disability is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. For this meeting, the Commission on Disability is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Participants may find information on the conduct of this meeting at that location. Please note this meeting is being recorded and each vote taken is conducted by roll call vote. All right, so now we can get into, hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
You're muted, Matt.
You're muted, Matt.
Sorry, thanks. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Hey, Matt.
We're
How
good.
are you? What's up, Augie?
Hey.
Hey.
Good to see you.
See you.
I'm going to read the agenda item again, just so it's clear. We're going to review the variance request for a new affordable housing development at 31 Fairgrounds Road. The applicant is seeking relief from the requirements of 521 CMR 9.3 for all ground floor units to be constructed as Group 1 units. The applicant alternatively proposes to provide 2 Group 2A units on the site without any Group 1 units. So I'm now going to turn it over to the applicant. Matt or Josh?
Yeah. Josh, you want to kind of run through the specifics? I actually have the SketchUp model open too, which has the whole development on there if we need to kind of as a backdrop if we want.
You know, I've got, do you want to share your screen, Matt, or because I could probably do that too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could start off with your the documents because that's what we submitted to you. But if you want to, as a follow-up, we can show you. Like I said, we've got all the buildings kind of modeled and on a site. It's very kind of, it's in SketchUp, but you do get a sense of the density and the 2 particular units that we just submitted. But I'd probably say start with the documentation that we've submitted.
Okay, so I'll share my screen, and I've got it. So do you see that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'm going to bring us back to the front of the application. And here's the narrative.
Yep.
I think all the commission members have received a copy of this application, so maybe you've read this already, so I won't read it again.
Thank you.
And that brings us up to the site plan. Matt, why don't you just tell me where you want me to go?
I think probably the site plan is a good place to start. And the 2 buildings that we're talking about are buildings 4 and 5 that are the accessible units. And that's really where we've concentrated. But I think Josh, in terms of like the approach that we've taken, I feel like you might be a good person to kind of just kind of walk you through it more on the technical side. You could please.
Yep. So basically the idea behind this variance is that, so out of the 8 buildings here, buildings 1 and 8 are duplexes, which, those by themselves wouldn't trigger 521 CMR because they're less than 3 dwelling units each. But buildings 2 through 7 are 3-family dwelling units, which qualifies them as multiple dwellings per 521 CMR. So based on the total site room count, what 521 CMR would require, just as a baseline, would be that each of the buildings 2 through 7 would need to be constructed as all the ground floor units would need to be group 1 dwelling units. Group 1 versus group 2 is, group 1 is basically accessible entrance, accessible route to all spaces in the unit. But not the giant bathrooms, not the giant, not the short, height kitchens and whatnot. Versus group 2, which is the full shebang with the big bathrooms, the big kitchens and whatnot. So what the code would require off the base is that they are all group 1, and group 2 units would not be required. However, in order to make all of these individual buildings group 1 units, we basically need to provide a ramp up to each building, aside from the additional spatial requirements inside. And you can kind of see, based on the density of the plan and kind of what the scale of these ramps would be, is trying to get a ramp to each of these buildings would be a little difficult to pull off. And then trying to put a lift on each building as well would just sort of drive the cost up. And it's intended to be affordable housing. It's modular factory built construction, so they're going to build it in the shop, they're going to ship it to the island, they're going to plop it on the foundation. So the foundation detail sort of is what it is. It's just going to be something like 21 inches first floor to average grade. So that being said, when we were looking at, well, how can we still get a reasonable level of compliance in here? So instead of having 6 of these buildings be group 1 units, we're instead proposing that the buildings 4 and 5 would be group 2 units. So basically, instead of all 6 buildings being group 1s, we'd have 2 group 2. So we're almost trying to provide additional quality to make up for sort of the lost quantity of the units. And that's basically what we're going at.
It's also a mix too. We went with the 2. It's a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom unit, which we thought were the larger of the units. So I think that allows for the most amount of flexibility. So if somebody was looking for a single, there's studios. I'm sorry, there's 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, and we thought that integrating the 2 and 3 bedroom would be, give us be the most accessible to whatever scenario there is. If it is a 3-bedroom, I think they've found that with from the housing side, that 1 and 2 bedrooms are probably more in need. 2 bedrooms essentially could still be used by like a single occupant. It's kind of nice if they have guests. It's good to have that 2nd bedroom. So we intentionally picked kind of the larger to 2 larger units to be the accessible units. So,
and what you see here is, like Matt said, basically we have unit 4A, which would be a group 2 fully accessible 2-bedroom unit, and then unit 5A would be the 3-bedroom unit. And while we don't have the fully accessible 1-bedroom unit, we did, at least based on some feedback when we talked with Mickey and Brenda a few weeks ago, trying to kind of brainstorm ideas, is we at least managed to get a ramp up to unit 4B. So you could at least, it wouldn't be a accessible unit per se, but you could at least, get in there and then try to make do. So again, if it's just someone who doesn't need a full accessible unit, but would have a hard time with stairs, it's at least, we're trying to provide something.
Yeah, and I think that I feel like the 2-bedroom, the 2-bedroom unit, in my opinion, like facilitates like a 1-bedroom need. It's just basically with like a guest room. And we could make, I think the idea was to make the some of the units just access, in terms of like ramps to get into the non-accessible units, which we can do. We've got some latitude there. We have just engaged a landscape architect too, so I think we'll have a pretty good handle on what the overall sidewalk access and things like that will be. But there might be some opportunities for additional accessibility throughout the property. But the bigger picture here is that we wanted to go with the most accessible units that gave us like the largest units, the 2 and 3 bedroom as kind of a trade-off. Hopefully a net benefit is the goal.
Okay, thanks, guys. I look at this as the fact that if you were following 521 completely, you would end up with probably, I'm guessing, but about 6 group 1 units, maybe 7, that would be, you'd have access into the building, into the apartment, but you wouldn't have accessible bathrooms or accessible kitchens.
Correct.
So as an alternative, we're getting 2 units that are fully accessible, ramps, doors, bedrooms, the whole works. If this were a large apartment building, and Josh and Matt, you can help me on this one perhaps, but is it written that that 5% of the units would be required to be accessible, or is that a sort of an aside? Is that part of it?
Yes, that would be part of it. So the way it's written in 521 CMR, even if they're not all in the same building, if they're all part of the same complex, you add them all up. So it's kind of, this one's interesting because between all the 3 family buildings, you would have 18 units. So that would be below 20, which is the trigger for whether you need even 1 group 2. If you included the 2 duplexes, it would be 22. So it would be over. So you need at least 1. We weren't really 1 group 2 unit. We weren't really sure whether to count the 2 duplexes as part of the count, but in either event, whether we would need 0 group 2 units total, or if we need 1, we're going to provide 2. So it'd at least be more than would be required in either scenario.
Is this one piece of property, or these, what are the individual dashed lines between the
those indicate those are the individual lots. So they are individual. They were designed and subdivided in a way that each of these units fell on its own lot. So theoretically, each building sits on its own lot, and actually the building numbers are actually references to the lot numbers. So building 1 sits on lot 1, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all sit on their own lots. The reason for that was that this theoretically was an A&R project, and they wanted to create 5,000 square foot lots, and that on each of the 5,000 square foot lots, you would have a primary dwelling, a secondary dwelling, and a tertiary dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this way of basically kind of being compliant. It was a creative way, actually, I thought, for them to be compliant and not require any special waivers in terms of like density.
Right. So when I look at this plan and I see building 4 and 5, is there this center platform,
Mm-hmm.
the deck,
Mm-hmm.
but that's straddling the property line,
Correct.
and that's okay?
Yes. Yeah. It's like 0 lot line. That was part of the planning board decision.
Okay.
And so they technically, I think the buildings are actually allowed to touch, and because it's a 0 lot line side setback, which was part of the decision. For our purposes, in order to get as much light and access, and it's a fairly high density, it's dense. So we actually, in order to get as much light and for each unit bedroom, we wanted to kind of pull them apart, but we are required to actually have them connect via a deck and a roof walk, and that was the planning board was okay with that.
Okay, so over here on the right, to the right side of building 5, you're not showing a stoop, and that would be close to this, to the property line, but that's okay, because it's a 0 setback.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it, okay. All right, so the two units that we're getting are these two accessible units, 4 and 5, and this number 4 shows the kitchen living area and 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, fully
Right.
accessible by a ramp to the front door. This is the secondary means of egress to the side, but that's not accessible, which I don't think is an issue in residential. It's just one required, I imagine.
Yep, and we could, that elevation would be raised so that threshold could be flush.
Yep.
And there is some, I don't want to promise anything. We wanted to kind of take the more conservative view to demonstrate, the accessibility portions of the structure that are accessible. I think there might be the possibility for some of these connector pieces to potentially be elevated so that, to eliminate as many steps as possible. But I think that's a bigger conversation that we're working with the landscape architect at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is one of the things that we actually asked for originally when Brenda and I reviewed this the first time, is that all of these platforms outside of exterior doors be at the threshold level, so that if somebody needed to ramp up into the building, granted the other units don't have bedrooms on the first floor, so it wouldn't be sort of a living accommodation, but might be a visitor accommodation.
I think we could definitely, those connector pieces, Mickey, we could definitely, I don't see any reason, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't make those flush.
Yep.
And then just
I
create-
think, yeah, Matt and I actually talked with Alex about it too, is basically all the non-accessible buildings, we can make those front entry decks flush with the thresholds. It's probably just one extra step. So
Yeah.
we should be able to pull that off, I think, in all of the buildings. So, and it'll be steps up to the deck, but once you're on the deck, it should be an easy transition in and out.
And so Mickey, the idea being that if somebody did want to add a ramp, it's already set up for that.
Yes,
So I don't think there's any issue with that whatsoever.
that's one thing we find. I know Brenda could speak more to this, but when she distributes her temporary ramps, it's usually pretty easy to get up to a stoop, but then you have to get from the stoop into the house.
Right.
And if we
Yeah,
could
there's no
eliminate
reason.
that
We can
problem,
totally do that.
that would be helpful. So that's a little bit of an aside, but getting back to the accessible units, this so this is the 2-bedroom unit, and Billy Cassidy, who is the developer, what is his role in this?
He's the developer. Yep, he's actually responsible for. He's the one that hired us. Went to the planning board, and he's going to be responsible for the construction and delivering it to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay, so he mentioned that during that conversation, that this 2-bedroom unit, if somebody who is disabled only has the need for a single bedroom, that they would make this 2-bedroom unit available at the same price as a single bedroom unit.
Yeah.
Now, probably nothing to do with you guys, but that's something that he said at that
Yeah, we debated, trying to do like making the 2 fully accessible units a 1 and 2 bedroom, but we thought that it's the 1 bedroom. I think the 2 bedroom to me facilitates the same need as a 1 bedroom. So if it's like if you really only need a 1 bedroom and you have a 2 bedroom, I think that's great because you have a guest room, as opposed to just having a 1 bedroom. And then the 3 bedroom, I would say that in general, from a housing perspective, the needs perspective, the 3 bedrooms are actually in less demand. But again, given that it's the larger, we wanted to provide the largest unit and the 2 bedroom, we thought that was the best approach. So I think in any scenario, this would facilitate a need.
Yep. Okay, so that's what we're getting in terms of the well, that's what they're requesting, I guess, in terms of the accessible units. These 2, one's a 2-bedroom, the one on the left, and the one on the right is a 3-bedroom unit. And all the other units on the property, which are on the first, so this is the ones across the parking area, the units 1 and 8. They're all 1-bedroom units. What are these?
They're 2 bedroom.
They're all 2-bedroom units. The
Yep.
bedrooms are all on the second floor.
Right.
Yeah, so the requirement from the planning board and I think the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, these are kind of the two unique buildings in that they're actually 4 2-bedrooms. Every other lot, so each of these sit on its own lot. They are connected, but so for example, building 1 is 2 2-bedroom units. Building 8 is 2 2-bedroom units. Every other unit, every other lot and or building is basically has 3 dwelling units in it, one of which is tertiary. Reason being is, again, to facilitate and comply with the zoning, so that you weren't requiring any special permits. You are, by right, everybody's allowed a tertiary unit. So in each lot, with the exception of these 2, basically it's a 2 dwellings plus a tertiary, and they are all connected. So technically they're like 3 families. So it's a little bit of a puzzle
So-
piece trying to figure it all out.
And it's a variety in those in buildings 2 through 7, a variety of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units.
Okay, these are buildings 2 and 3,
Mhm.
and they're not accessible. But you said you'll get these decks up at the threshold level, so.
Yeah, I think we can get all of the decks to threshold level.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I'm just about to open that up. So if anybody on the commission, we'll start with Georgia, has any questions, go ahead.
On the accessible units, there's going to be 2, the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom. And then on the same floor are the single units, which look like efficiency apartments, right?
Those are the tertiaries, correct?
Right, but those are, they're like, they're 1-bedroom units, but they're 1 room, right?
No, this,
Or will
actually
they have a second floor?
There is a second floor. So if I think Mickey's looking at it right now. So if you look at the so you can see the second floor.
Okay.
So basically the first floor is stairs,
Gotcha.
entry, kitchen, living, dining area, basically living space in the first floor. And then the second floor is just a 1-bedroom and 1 bath. And those cannot exceed 650 square feet total by zoning regs. So they are tight.
Okay. So what is above the 2 the accessible units? Are there other apartments on the second floor?
Yeah, they are. So above the 2-bedroom unit, 2-bedroom accessible unit, there is a 2-bedroom non-accessible unit, and you can see the stairs. So you enter on the first floor, you go up. There's a little, it's definitely tricky. I mean, we're also these are all modular too, so it's been a bit of a a challenge, but fun, I know.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry, Mary Beth.
No, go.
So I just want to make sure I have this clear. All the main entrances, the thresholds are going to be flush with the decks, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and what about the connector pieces between the buildings? Are those also going to be flush?
We can make them flush.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mickey, can I share my screen just to show you the 3D model? I thought I could just show it to you quickly, and then we can jump back to this, if that's helpful.
I'll stop sharing mine, and I think you can just go ahead.
Hi, Jeanette.
Oops, sorry. 4 agreements. All right, hold on. Sorry, it's going to take a second. There we go. So they've only budgeted for 2 trees. Just kidding. So yeah, here's the site. The model's kind of big, so it takes a second as I move around. But buildings 4 and 5 are right here, and you can actually see how the decks are integrated into the front porches. These are going to be reviewed by HTC hopefully in the next week or so. So here we go. So you can kind of see. I have a feeling the HTC is going to want us to extend this front deck here. But to your point, any connector piece, we can certainly elevate so that all the decks are flush between. Oops.
You're
So-
showing them drop a
Okay.
little bit now, but you'll be able to bring those up.
What's that? Yes, yeah, they're dropped now. This is where they're modeled, so we haven't, but again, we've looked at it. There's absolutely no reason why, because those are all built on site. And there's just no reason why all these decks couldn't be, obviously the two buildings here that we're showing are flush on the front decks, but the side decks and any other deck, there's just no reason why we couldn't elevate them as requested.
Good. Jeanette,
So
did you have
this-
a question?
Mhm.
Does somebody?
Yeah, I'll jump in if I can.
There
I
you go.
apologize if I should have already known this, but are these rentals or for sale?
Rentals.
Rentals, okay. And how, is there an application process or a lottery? I don't know how affordable housing works.
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's on a need basis. I know that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund basically has a waiting list, a list of people that are
Yep.
waiting for units, and I think that they kind of address it on a first come, first served basis.
Okay, yeah, and then I guess, my thought was, since obviously the intention is to make these units as accessible as possible, is there any awareness as to whether disabled people get any preferential, treatment or space in line? Or is it possible that these units are just going to be rented out first come, first serve, regardless of whether or not the individuals are disabled?
That's a great question. I'll have to talk to Billy Cassidy about that and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund about what their policy is with it.
Yeah,
My-
because it would otherwise seem to be a waste of time and more, making it look right on paper than actually making it worthwhile in spirit and in reality.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that, again, I don't want to speak for anybody. I would assume that these would probably be the last ones to be rented. And if there is any existing need, if there is anybody that is on the waiting list,
Yeah,
that it does have a, accessibility, challenge or issues, they would probably, they would match them with this. So I think
Yeah.
that obviously, the fact that they're building them, they want them to be used.
yeah,
So, but I don't know exactly what their policy is on that, but I would assume that if there's anybody that's existing that's on the list that would be a good match for this, they would, jump to the
Yeah.
front of the line.
okay, thanks.
What is,
Augie has to just go to the bathroom, but hope that shouldn't interrupt anything. He'll be able to hear, he's go right behind me.
Cool.
Hopefully we'll
Is
be able to hear him.
Thank you. What is the square footage for the, if the one bedrooms have to be 670 square feet, you said?
650.
50, but they can be more?
No, they can't.
They
That's
can't
the
be
way-
more.
Yeah, the zoning bylaw, they can be less than 650, but they can't be more than 650.
Okay,
So-
how
yeah.
about the second 2 and 3 bedroom units?
I don't have
Around.
roughly, I don't have the square footage on the top of my head, but I'm guessing the 2-bedroom units are probably around at least 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
maybe
Yeah,
more.
I got him. I just pulled him up. Matt Alex did a tally. There's something like 1,000 square feet roughly each.
For the 2 bedroom
Yes, little.
and,
They average around 1,000.
right, okay, and the 3,
Yeah, a little bit bigger. So the 2 bedrooms are
1,200.
probably like 800 or 900, and the 3 bedrooms are probably like 1,200-ish.
Okay, that's what I would guess, okay. Okay,
Okay, anything else? Any other questions for these guys?
just a
Jeanette?
quick question about timing. What is the next process? You have to go to the HDC?
So we have received approval, HTC approval for every building except buildings 4 and 5.
Okay.
These were the last to be submitted, primarily because they took us the longest to design. We really had to kind of, Josh and Alex, who's the project manager on this, did a fantastic job. It was a little, like I said, it's definitely a puzzle piece, modular. So anyways, so they have approved everything except these 2 buildings. The HEC, I would say, has been pretty good about the buildings, and the project has been fairly well received. So I don't anticipate them giving us too hard of a time for these last 2 buildings.
So then the project goes forward.
So yeah, so they've got the planning board approval, the I think it's an MCD. I don't know what the actual definition is, but the planning board approval is in place. The HTC approval is for the most part in place. So next step is building permits, and we are actually in the process of working towards permit submission for buildings 1 and 8. That's where we're going to start, and then we're going to probably just go down the line, then go 2, 3, probably 4 and 5. 4 and 5 probably actually will be last, just because they're last in the process of, they're going to be last ones approved at HDC. So we'll probably kind of go 1, 8, 2, 3, 6, 7, and then 4 and 5.
Wouldn't the foundations all be done around the same time? Are these buildings going to have basements of any kind, or just regular foundation?
No, they're going to have basements, and yeah, they will have basements
For storage stuff, yeah.
for storage.
So will those all be done at the same time? Just curious.
I doubt it. No, they usually, I know there's always, Mickey knows this, like you always try to we're going to build them all at the same time.
Right.
The form guys, they just still stagger them no matter what. So I think they'll probably do them one at a time. I'm guessing they probably will do like buildings 1 and 8. They probably will do both of those at the same time.
Those at the same time. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So what I was just thinking about timing of when something like this would be available. So we're talking probably a year.
Probably. I mean, if they get buildings 1 and 8 permitted, say we get buildings 1 and 8 permitted by December, or maybe sooner. Let's just say December. I could see 1 and 8 being online by next summer.
Okay. Yeah.
That's definitely a need.
Yeah. Oh, boy, is that ever an understatement? Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes, it is.
It's terrible. It's really. Ugh.
Yes, it is. It is really terrible.
So, Jeanette, I saw your hand raised earlier. You're muted, Jeanette.
You're muted. Can't hear you.
I think she's saying, hold on. Nope. She said, hold on one sec.
She's on here twice.
Oh, she's on here twice.
Yeah.
She's on with 2 different devices. I had to admit her, I think for the, I'm gonna.
Can you you might be able to unmute her actually, if you're the.
I just tried it and it said ask to unmute, Matt. And so that's what I did. I said ask to unmute.
Yeah, she's got her iPad and her computer on.
Maybe she should get a chalkboard.
Jeanette, you could do the chat button too if you have
Yeah.
Type in a question.
Yeah, I wish I could hear it.
No.
I'm now, can you hear me?
Here you are.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay.
Good
Well,
one.
first off, I have an eye problem, so I can't see all these things, so I can't put in the number for the, to get on the big screen. How, as I say, I was late for the meeting. How many units are you having that are handicap accessible? And tell me about the porch. How much of that is a level or whatever that I've been listening to?
You
wanna
missed
take-
it all.
You want to take that, Josh?
Yep, so 2 of the units are going to be full group 2 totally accessible units with the totally the accessible bathrooms, the kitchens, and all of the decks. The decks going into the accessible units we're gonna have ramps up to those decks, and then all the decks going to the non-accessible buildings, they won't have ramps, but they'll at least be flush to the first floor. So that way, if someone needed to install a temporary ramp up to the deck, they could at least do that and roll right in the door to the non-accessible buildings.
So how many are going to be accessible? How many units?
2 fully accessible units.
Do you think that's enough with our aging population? Or are you not expecting aging population to be looking for these?
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, I think the way we analyzed it was we took what the requirements were and we felt like this was exceeding that requirement in a more intense way. So I don't know. It's hard to say whether or not it's going to facilitate the need. I do think, you know, like we talked about actually elevating all the exterior decks and breezeway connectors so that those are flush, so that if somebody did want to add a ramp up to their units, they could do that. So to what extent? So to answer your question, I think that we're kind of doing everything we can based on what the regulations suggest.
And once you're inside those things, if you've made the flush, there nothing they can just walk around in the unit without having to go over a, whatever it is, lip or something like that?
Yeah, no, if you elevated the exterior decks, you could definitely get in to the first floor of those units. Shouldn't have any issue there. But there are stairs inside the units. And so like for the tertiary 1 bedrooms, you know, the units are on the 2nd floor, but getting inside to the unit, I think we could definitely do that. And I think elevating all those decks is a great idea.
Okay, well, because I'm just thinking you're not looking at the seniors carefully, because I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of issues. Thank God I don't, but I live on a 1-floor house, basically. So that was my concern, is thinking about the seniors who are, as I say, aging and being more disabled. So anyhow, and there was one thing that somebody had said, we're leaving to the last, and I don't know what that was all about. The other gentleman was saying that.
Oh, just in terms of the sequencing of the buildings being built, just because we have HTC approval for all the other buildings except for these 2. We're calling buildings 4 and 5 only because they just took us longer to design. But we are waiting to be heard by the HTC. And like I said, the HTC has been they've been good, you know, kind of nitpicking about some certain things, but for the most part, the buildings have been getting approved in like, you know, two meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or thoughts? Doesn't look like it. All right, so I guess what we need to do as a commission is to take a vote about whether we are going to recommend, what's the word I'm looking for, Brenda? Are we going to
Variance request?
support the variance of request? Thank you. Or not. You know, I see this as a little bit of a trade-off. We could get, if they really followed the code, it'd be more units that really aren't fully accessible versus these 2 units that are totally accessible. So I think that's really what it comes down to.
In a 22 unit, you know, project like this, is there a number where you said something about 5%, Mickey? Is that what those 2 are 5%, right?
Yeah, actually, if 5% of 22 is 1.1, I'm not sure if they count 0.1 or not, but it's
well, they must if we have 2 instead of 1.1.
Yeah, the way it works is, so basically the trigger point for having any is a hard, if you have less than 20, they don't require any. If you have 20 or more, it's 5%, and then it's rounded up or down to the nearest integer. This development is kind of interesting because, again, technically the only buildings that are required to comply with 521 CMR are buildings 2 through 7, again, just because those are the 3 family. 521 CMR for the 2 duplexes, which would be buildings 1 and 8, they're actually not required on their own to comply. So the question would be basically if we didn't count them, you would have 18 units that would be required to comply. So then you wouldn't need any group 2 units. If they were interpreted to add, then there would be 22, and then you would need 1 in either scenario, whether you'd need 1 or a 0 or 1, or we're proposing 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I guess I'll be looking for a motion from someone to support the request as submitted, but I think we still have to put in a couple of conditions.
I have a quick question. What is the variance now that we're voting on?
It is for section 9.3, which is the requirement that all multifamily ground floor level units have to be designed as group 1 units. Which basically it says all 6 need to be the semi-accessible units, and instead of that, we're requesting a variance, and the trade-off being instead of the 6 semi-accessible, we're going to do 2 totally accessible.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think that at least the 2 of the conditions that I think that we want to include with this letter of support is that, as we've already discussed, that all of the porches and stoops and decks outside of exterior doors be at the floor level. And the second one, I believe Brenda and I talked about this before, is that that we want to make sure that the accessible units are, as you kind of mentioned, I think, Josh, that these would be, or maybe it was Matt, that these would be held till later in the distribution, so that anybody with a disability that comes along initially will have access to these before they get taken up by someone that's not disabled somehow.
Yeah, I would say, I haven't talked to Billy about that, so that was I think that's what they would do, but something I would confirm. I think the key is, I don't know if we could word it in a way that they will be designated for those, that need them, and that they would get priority over those who don't.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the second condition. Brenda, did we have any other?
Well, I just wanted to say something on that idea. I know that you said the affordable housing has a waiting list, and that's typically what they would use when apartments become available. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe that's how they do it.
Let's just say if there's nobody that has a disability, a physical disability, that doesn't need those apartments, is there any way that the town or the Untitled Housing, who's ever in charge of this, if they could advertise saying, we have 2 beautifully accessible units and we'd love to see somebody with a physical disability get those units. If you are in need of that, we would love for you to have these units. Something on that idea, so that we can let the people out in the community know that these units are brand new and available to them and accessible, instead of just in case there isn't somebody on the list that does need them.
Yeah,
I mean, be a little bit more proactive.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, again, I think that I think everybody agrees that, our hope is that somebody uses these units that could benefit from it. So, as far as advertising, I can't see any reason why that would be a problem.
Yeah, these are conditions that are not sort of architectural related, so they'll go on to they'll go on as part of our support letter, but probably don't really affect Josh and Matt directly.
No.
This discussion level.
Wouldn't this go to the Nantucket Housing? Was the last word I forgot, but anyway.
Well,
It's
also a condition.
not the housing bank, right? It's
Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yeah, you're right.
So these wonderful names, right?
This is part of our. It's part of our support letter, so it'll go through the AAB when they review.
Right. Right. No, I understand. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So do I have Brenda?
Okay, can I just say, okay, when we met with Matt and Josh, and Billy Cassidy was on the call also, a condition was that we can put in the support letter also, would be that they would offer the 2-bedroom accessible unit if someone only needed a 1-bedroom unit, at the 1-bedroom unit price and not at the 2-bedroom unit price. That was one of the things, and I think that was it, but I just want to make sure that that's in the split letter also.
Okay, so it sounds like we have 3 conditions.
Right.
So are everybody aware of what those conditions are?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brenda, you have that? You can read it to
Yep,
us.
and the stoops, all the decks will be flush, the entrances and including the breezeways, correct? Yep, and that if someone only needs a 1-bedroom accessible unit, they'll offer the 2-bedroom accessible unit at the 1-bedroom price. And then if someone who is disabled, if there's no one who needs those accessible apartments on the list, presently on the list, that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund will be proactive in advertising that these units are available and fully accessible. And those are the 3 conditions that I have.
Good.
I so move
Thank
that
you.
we put those in the letter.
Is there a second to that?
Wait, I think I have another question. I'm sorry. I'm just with the middle condition there, Brenda, that was and this is privately owned, right? Like it's for total profit, right?
Well,
It's a
I can't
great
answer
question. I think that it's a little bit of a gray area because the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is
Right.
affiliated with the town. So I think that their status is a nonprofit, but as we all know, nonprofits make money. And so I don't know how to answer that legally, but
I guess just my confusion with the second condition, that if somebody only needs a 1-bedroom, but they're getting the 2-bedroom, they get it at the 1-bedroom price. I don't really, I mean, I don't know who it's harming. That's, I guess, why I asked if it was totally
gotcha.
because I could show up and say it's a 2-bedroom. I'm one person, but I don't need a 2-bedroom, so I
Right.
want it at the 1-bedroom price. I mean,
Yeah.
there's too much of like an honor system in there. Most people aren't very honorable.
True, yeah.
Fair enough.
So I don't know.
I don't know if anyone will
what
ever
I'm
say,
saying would
"I
go to
don't
the
need
benefit
2 bedrooms."
of the rent collector. So I don't know who I'm advocating for with my questions about the middle condition. But it
It's
just,
good.
I don't get it, because how do you prove it that you do or you don't need a 2-bedroom?
I think the idea, Mary Beth, when we were discussing it with Josh and Matt, was that just to say if there was a single person, whether it be an elderly person or just a single person, and they wanted to rent an accessible unit, and there wasn't one available because they don't have a 1-bedroom unit available, they were willing to make the 2-bedroom unit available at the 1-bedroom price. So that was the thought process then, you know?
I mean, it doesn't matter to me at all, because it seems to have nothing to do with disabled people, but it's, I'm renting it and now my boyfriend's popping in. So do you know what I mean? Whatever. This has nothing to do with disabled. It's just I don't get the middle condition.
Very good point.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
comes down to like if it's a single occupancy, I think that does happen quite a bit in like rental apartments where people, they do charge rent for single occupancy, and the next they have like a significant other
Or a
or
whole family moving in.
yeah,
with
and it's
them.
hard to kind of regulate that.
There are a lot of
Sure.
Or they
multiple
sublet it,
families
or-
that live together here. Yeah.
But they sublet the other bedroom
Yeah.
to
Right.
themselves, which
Or
I know.
or I turn it into a walk-in closet or something.
So that sounds like a general problem with rental industry in itself, but not
Yes.
necessarily specific to this project. I would.
Right.
I mean, I think that's what I'm saying is because one way or the other, if it is a total for profit, I guess I am advocating for the owner or the landlord. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't get its relevance to, because whatever someone says, again, it's whatever they say is neither here nor there. It's probably not the truth.
Yeah, and I think the intent is that, so that somebody who just wants a single unit is not, is not excluded just because they want a single unit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it just might be, so
Yeah,
it might all be
totally-
based on
totally
the
get
honor
that.
system.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the idea we're really actually taking it from the hotel section of 521 CMR. The idea being like if you're one, like this in the transient units, it basically says, okay, well, your accessible units the only accessible unit you have is a 3-bedroom suite, and it's 3 times the price. If you do
Right.
just have one guy staying in there, I think for a hotel you can be like probably regulate a little more, but it is a good question for a renter because I can't imagine anybody actually saying, unless you're clearly listing all your kids on there when you're moving in, like who's ever going to say I need both bedrooms? Like, I only
Exactly.
need one.
Well, they'd only say that if they somehow were aware of the fact that if they indicated that they only needed 1 bedroom, that they'd get it at a cheaper price. So I don't know. I don't know what that awareness factor would be, how people would know. I don't know.
Well, it's an
Sorry.
interesting concept, but probably not our concern.
Maybe too much coffee here. I don't know.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Good point.
Jeanette.
yeah, so
I'm coming from a different angle because having had a husband that was disabled, I could use a spare bedroom because I couldn't always sleep with him with his Parkinson's. So somebody may need a caregiver also in the spare extra room.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
I think also is there, if someone only really wanted a 1 bedroom and that's all they could really afford, and they needed an accessible unit, I think this is where we were looking at it, was that, okay, so you only need 1 bedroom, that's all you can afford is a 1 bedroom. We're gonna offer you this accessible unit, it's a 2 bedroom, but it's 1 bedroom price. So that was kind of like where we were coming from at the time, because someone could afford a 2 bedroom and that's all they had available. Billy Cassidy goes, look, I'll give them to it the 1 bedroom price. And I guess it was kind of like the honor system, but that was our take on it when we talked about this accommodation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
So I'm still looking for a second on that motion.
I'll second it for all the trouble I caused.
Good
And
point.
all those in favor of that, I'm going to take a roll call on this. Augie? Is that a yes?
Aye.
And Mary Beth?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Georgia?
Aye, yes.
And I'm an aye also. So that goes ahead.
Great.
All
great.
right. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you all for your time.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
guys.
much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
All
You
right.
too. Have a
guys.
great weekend, everyone.
Good to
Yep.
see you,
Oh,
Augie.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the
Okay.
weekend.
Back to our agenda. Next item is to discuss the CPC grant application. The Nantucket Historical Commission, NHC, is proposing to submit a grant request to the CPC to help fund an engineering-based study of how to properly restore the Upper Main Street sidewalk from Center Street to the monument. And I can describe what's going on there. That first of all, I think you all got an email from Brenda, kind of just sort of canvassing to see how you felt about this, because there was an urgency to the application a week or 2 ago. And we got a couple of responses from what I remember, but I don't know that it was a full response from everybody. In any event, we went ahead with the application. We're actually co-applicants with the Nantucket Historical Commission to get this study done. And to clarify the statement that I just read, it's really from the Pacific Club all the way up to the monument. It's including the south side of Main Street where the retail stores are, not just the residential area. That's actually a change from what we understood it to be initially. So it's more inclusive, which is good. And just in case you're not terribly sure what this means, is that they've done and are doing laser scans of the whole street and sidewalk. So they'll have a 3-dimensional model of exactly, dimensionally to scale what the sidewalk layout material are, and the, includes all the crosswalks and the curb cuts, things like that. So that they'll be able to manipulate this model to show different elevation changes. For instance, we all know one of the worst parts of Upper Main Street on the sidewalk is by the three bricks, those large stone slabs. They're all, way out of whack. You can't really possibly, Augie, you probably can't get up there at all in your
He
wheelchair.
was just asking me where it was because he's like, never goes up there except in a car.
I still
Yeah.
don't know where it is.
You still don't know where it is?
No.
Okay, I'm just trying, all right, Upper Main Street, so you've gone all the way up Main Street, you've passed by the bookstore on the left.
You're talking about the building where the big Christmas tree is?
Yeah, past that.
Past that?
You're gonna.
All the
keep
way
going
up.
Oh, all the way
Past the
up.
street where Candy and
Yeah.
Ned's was up there, you know that monument in the middle?
Yeah, I've never really been down there, sorry.
In the car you have, not on your chair.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Oh,
now I know.
down there, yeah,
Yeah,
that is pretty bad.
yeah, okay.
It's really bad. It's inaccessible.
It is. Yeah.
So it's been like that, and it probably will remain for a little while until they can get, an appropriate study done. Hopefully, this will enable them to do a sort of a three-dimensional virtual model of this, so that they can manipulate the road level, the sidewalk level, the curbs. The tree roots are obviously the concern in that location. Nobody wants to see these elm trees get taken down. So it's a big, complicated model that needs to be made, which can't be done on a blueprint. It has to be done three-dimensionally. So the CPC, the Historical Commission is asking, I'm on the Historical Commission also. They're asking the CPC to help fund this study, and the cost of it is going to be $82,000. And this is just the study that the CPC can't fund the actual restoration of the sidewalk. That has to be paid for by the town. But at least this model that's being made will enable them to get accurate bids and to do the construction in a historical way, but from our perspective, or our concern, to make it accessible. So that's the goal, is to make it fully accessible and keep it as true to the historical nature of the sidewalk and the streetscape as possible. So in a sense, I'm sort of filling you in on what's going on because the application is already underway. And on Tuesday, I should get to Brenda so she can distribute the copy of the application. I should have done that because I have that. It's a very Hillary Rayport put it together for the Historical Commission. It's a very well put together application. And we're hoping the CPC will look favorably on it and approve it. On Tuesday is a presentation by the Historical Commission and the Disability Commission. Hillary and I will be on to Zoom to make that presentation to the CPC committee. I'm not sure if it's available to the public or not. If you're interested, I just don't know. And then I don't know how long it takes for them to vote on these things, but they need to approve it. And then finally, it really has to go in front of the town. I think next town meeting, whenever that'll be. And I think it has to be approved through town meeting to actually get the funding for the CPC grants.
Yes, that's the process, yes.
Okay.
Or as I know, not till April, I hope.
George, are you on that commission? Are you involved in that commission?
Not now, but I have been many performances in front of them, so.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And it's all part of the, it does go to town meeting. It's one of the earlier articles in the town meeting that goes through.
Okay, so that's not anything we need to vote on. It's really just sort of an informative thing that's in the works. And I think that you might all agree that this is going to be a very positive thing to get that area straightened out for, everybody to get access there
It would be nice. How much are you asking for?
The grant application is for $82,000. And that'll
Make
do the
sense.
model.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
And the presentations. It includes a lot of extraneous things that need to be thought about.
Yep.
Um,
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Relatively speaking, I don't think it's a large request for the CPC. I think,
It isn't. Yeah.
and it's certainly not a large request for relative to other studies the town has done for other
Yeah.
infrastructure improvements. So I think it fits right in financially.
Yeah.
So back to the agenda, that was new business. Old business is blank. I don't think we have anything really to go over there. And then there's always something, Brenda, for the update. Do you have anything for us on that?
Usually, I really don't have anything today, Mickey.
Okay, that's
Cool.
Yeah, that's easy. And there are no, we've been handling parking applications by phone, more or less.
Yep, I always call Mickey first, Georgia second. I always know George is right there at the phone.
Yeah.
Good.
And, yeah,
Okay, so we won't have any executive session to review any applications, it sounds like. We can't, I don't know if we can do that on Zoom anyway. But to that point, there's no other business. Unless anybody else has anything they want to bring up.
Got anything?
Heads shaking. So, all right, I think that covers our meeting for today. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So I move that we adjourn.
Okay, and seconded by
I'll second it.
Mary Beth. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Hey,
day.
Brenda, can I ask you something really quick that has nothing to do with this?
sure.
Yes.
So Augie's Massachusetts handicap placard is expiring in early 2022. Can you is that something I can do online, or do I need to get a renewal?
Massachusetts just automatically renews.
I was gonna say you'll automatically get it.
You'll
Oh, they're
automatically.
just gonna send it to me?
They'll
Yep.
just send it to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to do anything.
Okay,
Oh,
that
yep.
makes it easy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the one easy thing, yes. Thank
Yeah.
you, Brenda, for
Look at
the,
that crooked one. Is that one good?
thank you.
You got it, Georgia, no problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right,
Um, Augie, how do I?